Welcome back for the Thanksgiving edition of the Ball with the Beast podcast, presented by our great friends at Wyatt Insurance Services. Tennessee will finish up the regular season on Saturday, that being against Vanderbilt. If you want insurance needs, give Paul a call today at 865-862-3997. Brent Hubbs, Paul Fortenberry. Paul, we'll start with you. Your thoughts, because you've not had a chance to give them on Tennessee's second consecutive loss to Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, the Dolly mishap was an omen for the day, right? I mean, started off, she comes out of the tunnel with Peyton. What a bang to start off with, and then it just all falls apart from there.
Kind of sounds like the Jalen Wright touchdown followed by nothing.
That's exactly what I was saying. You know, the game script followed the Dolly script to a T. So, yeah, I mean, obviously super disappointing for Tennessee to come out after – just throwing the first punch and landing a big hit with Jalen Wright's touchdown, and then just failed to get anything going at all on offense. And defensively, you just can't. I mean, Carson Beck looked like the stud he's growing into, looked like a really good football player. And Tennessee had a hard day, obviously. So, disappointing you weren't more competitive throughout the game. And now you got to figure out a way to get excited and hyped up against Vanderbilt on in a Thanksgiving week. Not a lot to play for, bowl positioning. I think it'll be interesting to see how they come out, what kind of energy they come out with on Saturday. But yeah, I mean, ultimately just a really disappointing Saturday in Knoxville.
All right, we head into the final week of the regular season around the league, and some pretty good matchups out there. We'll start with A&M traveling to Baton Rouge to take on LSU. This is an A&M team that doesn't have Jimbo Fisher. He's out. May or may not have Evan Stewart. A lot of chatter out there. He may not make the trip to Baton Rouge. And then you got an LSU team who's, obviously out of West contention and trying to find some, reason to kind of, find some juice here at the end of the year, led by Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, Hubbard. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Paul.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, I think I may be getting on the Jaden Daniels Heisman train here, Hubbard. Responsible for 8 touchdowns last week, and I know it was against the Cupcake team, but you go back and watch the highlights. He looked unbelievable. He's so stinking good. Obviously A&M is without a head coach and without a direction right now, and LSU still has a lot to play for. I mean, still, an outside – they have a shot at the one of the big bowl games. So, at home at LSU, A&M not a lot to play for. Jaden Daniels – maybe potentially playing for the Heisman Trophy, Hubbard. You have to feel like they're going to be all in where A&M doesn't have a lot to play for.
Yeah, I think this is an easier motivation game for LSU because I think Jaden Daniels got that much respect in the locker room, and I think Neighbors and all those guys want to do what they can to try to help him make his final case for the Heisman Trophy if he can do that. So A&M is. The only storyline in A&M right now is, one, who's flying in for an interview or who are they going to see for an interview? And the other, Austin, is who's going to go in the portal a week from Monday. That's the only thing anybody's talking about at A&M. It's not about this game, which makes this a good setup for LSU.
Yeah, 100%. I will say this. Had Jaden Daniels, of course, Nick won one in 03, and then, of course, Les won one, and, of course, Orgeron won one. I mean, LSU's won 3 national titles since, the calendar turned to 2000. But, I mean, had Jaden Daniels played quarterback for about 7 or 8 other LSU teams within the last 15 years, they'd have won national titles too. I mean, like, all they were lacking were quarterbacks. They had unbelievable running games, unbelievable offensive lines, unbelievable skill, and just had nothing. I mean, now it's flipped. Like, defense isn't very good. You know what I mean?
That's what I was about to say. If you just take
LSU, it's so bizarre.
If you take the next best LSU defense that they've had in the last 20 years, they probably are 11-1 or 12-0. You're exactly right, AP. That's a great point.
I mean, that part of it is fascinating to me. Another fascinating game in the league this week is Florida State at Florida. Now, Florida State will be without Jordan Travis. They bumped them back to the 5th spot, but if they keep winning, Hubbard, I think that's a nightmare scenario for the CFP because, Michigan and Ohio State, one of those teams is going to drop this week, right? And so Florida State sitting there at 5. How much pressure does the committee feel to either reward undefeated Florida State if they can get through the next couple of weeks, or penalize them because Jordan Travis is not there and put, Oregon, which is a one-loss team, if they continue to win, ahead of them.
Well, I mean, I think they're just, if you're on the committee, you're kicking the can down the road, right? You're just kicking it down to see what happens this week. And then you see what happens in the ACC championship game. Now, Florida doesn't have Mertz, which doesn't help their cause offensively. So this is a really intriguing matchup just from the standpoint of you don't know what either team is going to be offensively. Now, the backup quarterback for Florida was pretty good last week. Florida should have won that game. They decided not to play defense on the final drive.
Yep.
You don't know about Florida State, Paul, because they had a cupcake, right? They had the shock of losing Jordan Travis. It took them a minute to get it, figure it out. And then they went and blew out a team that they were supposed to blow out with their walk-on quarterbacks. Now it gets real. And so I don't know what to make of this game. I think this one's pretty fascinating because both of these teams are really unknown going into this game, and both of them have things to play for, and it's a rivalry game, so there's always something to play for when these two teams play.
Yeah, the first thing is just, I don't know if you guys, I was flipping through games Saturday night and watched the Jordan Travis thing happen live, and man, it's just heartbreaking for a team that's on the cusp of making the playoffs, and he's a real big reason why. And if you've read his backstories, I guess this year, he almost close to quitting football at one point, and to get to where they are, and then for him to break his ankle leg, just awful story. But they rallied and obviously won their game last week, which they were supposed to do. But yeah, real intriguing game. Still a ton to play for Florida State. Florida's playing for pride, and bowl game, I guess. But it's do they want to go to Birmingham in a couple weeks in December? How motivating is that versus just ending the season and going home, and maybe entering the transfer portal for some of those guys? And in reality, that's what they think about now. So I'll be really interested. Florida State still has a ton to play for, and that, in my mind, just like we talked about LSU on a different level, a different scale, that means a lot this time of year. How focused you are during the week leading up to the game, how focused you are the day of the game, how focused you are when maybe something doesn't go your way and you get down a score. How much more willing are you to kind of scrap and fight to get back into it? And Florida State still has a lot in front of them where what Florida playing for is how quickly will their season be over with? End of December or beginning of December, and end of December, some crappy bowl game, or here in a couple weeks.
Over.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought you were ready to roll on to the next one because your time constraints there. Yeah, I mean, again, I think the bigger thing is going to be what does the
quarterbacks look like?
Yeah, well, not just that, but then for Florida State, can they get focused in on it not being about where they're ranked in the college football playoff and understand that they have to take care of their business? Because there's a notion out there, well, if they take care of their business, they may not make it, right? But then there's history of previous injuries at other places, and the team still made the playoff. That's a big distraction, right? Because how many of the family members and buddies are going, hey, what do you think about the Florida game versus, are y'all really not going to make the playoff because of Travis's injury? Like, what's going to happen here, this, that, and the other? So I think Mike Norvell's got a real interesting dilemma on his hands to make sure that team is not distracted by any of that stuff and strictly focused in on playing this game Saturday, putting their best foot forward and showing the committee that they're still worthy of being there. But that's a hard thing because all the talk in Tallahassee this week has been about one thing, and that's the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially a 2-week tryout for Max Brown. And how good is he? And if he shows enough, obviously they have to win. They have to go 2-0. They have to beat Florida and win in the ACC championship game against a Louisville team who's pretty darn good too. But if they do that, I mean, you have to think they're deserving. And I'm with you, Hubbard. You can't think about that. You just got to go play ball and take care of what you can.
Yeah, this Louisville team is sneaky too. I mean, you factor in
really athletic defensively. Really athletic defensively.
And they're kind of laying in the weeds for the CFP. Like if they win, this could be the next game we talk about is Kentucky and Louisville. And so we can go ahead and transition to that. But if Louisville can win this, the next 2 weeks, and then the right losses happen, they could slide into the backside of the playoff. I mean, it could get really, really fascinating. So Kentucky, they've struggled all year. and Jeff Brom continues to do what Jeff Brom does, which is throw it all over the lot and win football games.
Yeah, they run it a little better than I think people want to give them credit for at times. Here's the other thing too, Paul, with this one. I've seen stories written in the Louisville paper. It's been nearly 1,500 days since Louisville beat Kentucky on the football field. And Brom is such a Louisville guy. I mean, his quotes this week were like losing's not an option here. Like he put all the pressure on his team. Like, they're not going to like you at Walmart if you don't win this football game. You got to go take care of business. Now, I think they will, because I think Kentucky's going in the wrong direction. But this game got a lot different with a Louisville coach who doesn't have any use for Kentucky, right? I mean, this rivalry is real for him. That team will be just absolutely unhinged to start the game. They got to settle in and not try to do too much early. But Louisville will be hair on fire when they come out of the locker room because of where Brom is, of what he thinks of this game and this rivalry as a Louisville guy.
Yeah. And Hubbard, to your point about running the ball, I'm pretty sure Louisville has a 1,000-yard rusher this year. They have another guy with over 600 yards. So they'll, Brom, they'll throw it, but this is, they're a tough team. I mean, they're a good offensive team. The Plummer kid is a pretty solid quarterback. And Hubbard, I think I'm with you. I mean, just the way Kentucky's season is heading down the stretch is not the right direction. Leary, after showing some life in a couple of games, specifically against Tennessee, he's not played back up to that level again. Davis has not been playing at the same level. The pressure is on Louisville, obviously. You got a ton to play for. You're playing for, a New Year's Six bowl positioning if you can win the ACC championship game, or maybe if you lose it and you go 11-2. So they have a ton to play for. Where Kentucky, again, it's so interesting. It's a ton of pride and stuff is on the line. But you're at the end of the grind of a season, and what's out in front of you versus a team that has so much to play for versus, again, bowl positioning in the mediocrity of the mid bowl. So that always plays in my head of, you got Thanksgiving going on this week. You can easily get distracted. You think about not being at home. And unless you're a team that's really disciplined and focused and you have a lot out in front of you, I think that can weigh on you at this time of the year.
Well, and here's the other thing, Austin, as we get ready to move to the next game. For Kentucky fans, 5-0 feels like 3 years ago for them, right? I mean, they were a 5-0 team, when people were talking about, this was their year. They're going to compete here. They're going to go to Georgia and have a chance, right? Here they go. I mean, that seems like forever ago for this football team that's got a chance to finish, 1-5? If they don't win Saturday, they finish 1-5 or something like that down the stretch. It's 1-6, like that. Yeah. I mean, it's a long time ago since people were talking a lot of good vibes about Kentucky football.
Well, their only win is against a terrible Mississippi State team that's fired their coach. So, I mean, they've not really done a whole lot. I mean, the game with South Carolina was competitive last week, but the game with Tennessee was competitive. But, they've still come up short. Hubbard, any word if Michael Bush will flip the coin pregame?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure where Michael Bush is these days, but there's a few Louisville players who are certainly looking forward to. There's no love lost between these two at all, and it's not just basketball. And Kentucky's had the upper hand here. That'll be a buzzsaw hornet's nest that Kentucky's walking into. They better hit that ground game and try to settle that game pretty quick when they get in there against Louisville, because if they get off to a rough start there, Louisville might jump on them real fast.
Yeah, Brom needs to get across to them. It's not Walmart you have to be worried about. They're not going to like you when you go into KFC if you don't win this football game.
There you go.
Here on the home front, Vanderbilt rolls into town. Coming off a bye week, Paulie, they're 2-9. They've lost 9 in a row. Not a lot of juice.
It's an understatement.
And Vanderbilt, with 2 weeks to prepare, throw any wrenches in Tennessee getting its 8th win.
Golly, if they do, that will be one of the more miserable Saturdays in Neyland Stadium. I mean, we've all sat through some miserable Saturdays, but it was a bad Vanderbilt team. Not a lot of juice on either side of the ball. I mean, Tennessee should absolutely take care of business if they are focused. Where is this team mentally? after two letdowns 2 weeks in a row. Does this team have the mental fortitude to say, hey, we're going to end the season the right way, and we're not going to lose to Vanderbilt, golly, which would be just a horrible way to lose the season. And can Joe Milton kind of rewrite the end of his story here and finish on a high note before you go into the bowl game? I'll be interested to see their attitude. How quickly do they come out and start? They can get off to a fast start. We saw it last week. They can go score touchdowns on their second drive. They scored second drive against Mizzou after Missouri had the 10-minute drive. But obviously, it's what's happening in those middle quarters when specifically the third quarter. Can Tennessee come out of halftime and keep the pedal down, if you will? That's a big question. This feels like one of two games to me, Hubbard. One, this could be Tennessee just blowing them out, running away, all their talent on the field, all the speed on the field, or it could be kind of a weird, one-score game going into the fourth quarter, not a lot of energy, not a lot of students in Neyland Stadium. It's not very loud. That's what, can Tennessee score enough early to put enough distance between them and Vanderbilt to where it's not a game going into the fourth quarter and Vanderbilt believes a little bit?
Yeah,
that's the last thing you want.
Yeah, I think you got to break their will early because, how many of the 85 or 100, whatever many they got going to practice every day, how many of those guys came off an open day weekend, free weekend at home, excited about coming back Thanksgiving week to go to the practice field on Monday if you're Vanderbilt, and you're 2-9. So I think Vanderbilt's got motivation issues that you've got to knock it out early. Just kind of break any thought. Now, the longer they stay around, they might get more motivated to play, Austin. But if you can hack at them early and you can jump on them early, I just don't know how motivated Vanderbilt is to be in Knoxville. Again, I think the open date for them came at a bad time. I know they're banged up, but mentally, next to last week of the season you had off, and then you got to go back out and play a meaningless game. It's hard for me to imagine Vanderbilt's just going to come in with a ton of juice in this game.
Yeah, I think if the game starts like it did last week, Vanderbilt just lays down. They're looking for a reason to lay down. Tennessee's just got to give it to them. And Tennessee's got to go out there and punch them in the mouth and end it early. First round knockout type deal and not let them hang around. Don't make this a 12-round fight. It shouldn't be. Tennessee's the better team by a lot, and it should be portrayed out that way on the field. And then a lot of that chatter about all these Vanderbilt kids that are actually some quality players, kind of like Ray Davis a year ago, about them potentially going to the transfer portal. We'll kind of see if it comes to fruition here coming up in about 8 days. If you are not happy with your insurance, enter the transfer portal and give Paul Fortenberry a call as Thanksgiving and Christmas approach. Paul, what are you thankful for as far as client base here as we eat turkey?
AP, just A+ on the segue there. The insurance transfer portal. I love the way you put that. Yeah, no. Obviously, thankful for our family and everything, and thankful for our clients. This is the time of year where we're working with new clients on those January 1st renewals, and it's getting busy around the holiday season with Thanksgiving and Christmas coming up. But it's really cool to see how we work with our clients and really looking at risk management and helping them out. And how they can see that over a 2 or 3 year plan take place. And while even though we're adding new clients for that January 1st, we're doing renewals, and they're seeing the benefit of making a long-term plan to save on insurance by doing some risk management work. So that's what we do really well with a lot of companies. So as AP always says, give us a call or email me at paul@wyattinsurance.com or 865-862-3997 and just ask for me, and we will be glad to help you and your business out.
All right, let's take a look at the picks, Paulie. I sat there. I had it when it went to 4th and 17. I had it typed out, AP to the lead, because I was going to get both swing games in that daggone Florida secondary. What the heck?
Mizzou, baby.
It's a split. We split. We're exactly where we were a week ago. Let's pull up the standings. Paul at 86-16, Austin 85-17. Same thing with Brent. And look at Hubs going Florida.
I don't really believe it, but you got to try to make a move, right? This is you got a rough lie. You're over water. There's a bunker in front of the green, and you got 2:30 to get there, but you got to try to get home in 2 because you're running out of games here. You're running out of holes to make plays, AP. So I'm going for broke here. I'll probably Roy McIlroy this one into the water, and that will probably in my hopes and dreams. And I'll always go back and have Justin Wilcox to blame for it all. But taking a wild chance here that maybe Florida State struggles with the backup quarterback, but we'll see.
I think I butchered that backup quarterback, by the way. I think I said Brown, which is Florida's backup quarterback earlier. And was it Rodemaker?
Yes.
The FSU backup quarterback. I always get them flipped because I'm having to learn their names this week. Hey, the one I thought about here, Clemson, 1-3 on the road this year. 1-3 on the road this year at South Carolina. I thought about pulling the trigger. Obviously, South Carolina with a nice win last week. Are they, they're playing for bowl eligibility. That late season Beamer magic over there in Columbia.
Oh, the nonsense that they were putting out there on TV the other night about November and Beamer and all this nonsense. I mean, my God.
I tell you what, I know Clemson's not been good on the road, but they've been great since that scripted phone call from Spartanburg got all the attention going there. They're not only have they've beaten everybody, but they've beaten everybody pretty soundly. I mean, they've handled teams going back to that Notre Dame game and have figured their offense out a little bit. Here's the one that's really bizarre to me is what does Arkansas do? Where in the world is Arkansas right now? I mean, a week ago, everybody was like, it's a matter of hours. Later today, this week, Sam Pittman's going to be out of a job. And then all of a sudden you get the email on Sunday that the director of athletics has posted a letter out there that says, hey, we're keeping Sam Pittman. Where in the world is Arkansas on a Friday afternoon at home against Missouri?
Doesn't matter. They're on the losing side. I don't know. I know. I get what you're saying.
Listen, I picked Missouri to win, but I mean, strange Missouri struggled the way they did at home last week with all they got on the line. I think they can. I mean, Florida's better than Arkansas, although Arkansas beat Florida at Florida. So, which makes my Florida over Florida State pick look really dumb when I threw that out. Maybe I'll get River to change that one up. But anyway, I'm curious to see kind of these. I mean, there's pressure building on Missouri, right, AP? I mean, because it's can they finish this thing off? There's a little bit of pressure on Missouri.
Yeah, because they can get to the New Year's Six, and I'm with you, Over. I mean, I think it's a little bit of pressure on Missouri. They just got to win this one, and then let the chips fall where they may. Although I can tell you, I mean, like I know it's more prestigious now, but like if you're a Vol fan and you said I could go to the Peach Bowl in the New Year's Six, or I can go to Florida, what are you taking? I'm not going to the Peach Bowl in Atlanta. It's nicer. It would have been more prestigious, but as far as destination, woof. All right, Paulie, let's get to this Tennessee pick. I know who you're taking. You're taking Vanderbilt.
Oh, man. I thought long and hard about it. No, I mean, there's no way you can pick Vanderbilt in this game. I mean, they're so bad. They switched up quarterbacks, maybe 4 weeks ago now, 5 weeks ago. That didn't help anything. In fact, I'm not they get I think this is Tennessee could go old school General Nealon football and hand off the ball 50 times and throw the ball 4 times, and they should be able to beat Vanderbilt. They should give the ball to Jaden Wright 15 times and Dylan Sampson 15, Jabari Small 10, and they should be all right. So we'll see. I have very little expectations of Vanderbilt to come in here and put up a fight. They're a really bad football team.
Paulie, you're giving the coaches too much credit to think they go give the ball to Jalen Wright 15 times. I mean, he'll get his customary 9, 10, run for $110, and call it a day.
Hey, when he taps out, you just got to – hey, sorry, man. You got to stay out there. You got to stay out there, bro. Keep running. You'll be fine. How high do you want to get drafted, man? You want to be a 5th-round guy, or do you want to be a
He only had a handful of yards after that first run, but that first run was a money-making run last Saturday.
Oh, that's a yeah. I mean, that's the
Making
lead.
out miss in the hole and outrun everybody on the field. There were some scouts in the box took note of that one. I promise you that.
Oh yeah, that's the NFL, man. 3 yards, 3 yards, 3 yards, boom, you hit a 40. 3 yards, 3 yards. I mean, that's all. That's and that he can do it. He needs to carry a ball about 4 or 5 more times a game to show us instead of just 175 yard. Can you break off another one?
He's only got 2 games in his career where he's carried it over 20. 19 is the high this year.
Is it really?
Yeah.
So that means he's got fresh legs for the league.
How many yards? He may have one of the all-time best. Hubbard, this is a Hubbard stat. Yeah, we need the all-time yards per carry with minimum of 100 carries in a season.
In a season right now, he's at 7.4 yards a carry. The record is 7.3 by Charlie Garner in 1993, where he had Charlie had 1,168 yards or something like that in that season, splitting time with a bunch of really good backs. And he finished the year. Bowl games didn't count in the record books. He finished 7.3 yards per carry. Right now, Jalen's sitting at 7.4.
The human Tennessee stat book that is Brent.
I might have looked that one up this week, Paul.
Ladies and freaking gentlemen.
I might have looked that one up. Not because of you, but maybe for something else.
God, it's so impressive. So impressive. Okay, so yeah, he needs to just average 7.5 yards a carry in the next 2 games, the Vandy and the bowl game, and he's got it.
Something tells me he's not going to tap out. I don't think, Paulie, he'll be playing the bowl game. Something tells me he won't be tapping out until he gets to 1,000 yards. He needs about a little over 50 to get there coming up on Saturday. He won't be tapping out. But if you are tired of your insurance provider, tap out, baby. Tap out. Give Paul a call today at White Insurance Services. You like that segue, Paul? Yeah.
Unbelievable. 2 for 2 in the segues today.
865-862-3997. And you never know. For the old bowl edition, we may have a special surprise for Paul. That's why I didn't take any risks this week. I said, no risks. Let's just stay where we're at, 1 game back. It also tells you, when we're this close, 12 weeks in, a lot of it's common sense stuff, right? Paul, 86-16. And either Brent will be tied with him or Brent will be in dead last, depending on the Florida football.
I'll be last.
Also, depending if Brent takes Vanderbilt to beat Tennessee. Our pick's coming up on Friday.
Swing for the fences there.
I've got Vols 42-14. I'll go ahead and tease it for you here on this Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We're ready for Christmas here in the Price household. Of course, we've been ready since probably, President's
July.
Easter, Independence Day, Memorial Day, Labor Day.
Hey,
Hubbard out the door. Who's the Heisman front runner?
We've been ready since National Potato Week, Hubs. National Potato Week.
National Flour Making Week. I will go. I'm still going to go with Jaden Daniels, right? I mean, I like Penix. I mean, the more you look at Penix, I mean, he's doing a lot of good things. That's a playoff team. So I think Penix is going to be right there. To me, it's 1, 2, those 2 guys. And I don't know where the third. I don't know where the third is right now.
Happy National Bastille Day, Hubs. Molly, we gotta go. We gotta get out the door. Ho ho ho! He's on his way, and we'll see you next week, everybody.